There are so many different anime studios in Japan.
And so much we don't know about them.
Is there a connection between them? Is there a conspiracy? What does it all mean?
Well, it means it's time for another studio in focus.
Oh, okay.
Launch the Ava!
Ava launch!
Tetsuo! Ganida!
Onii-chan?
It's over 9,000! Nani?
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Kawaii-Fi.
Kawaii-Fi.
Kawaii-Fi Radio!
Konnichiwa, and welcome to another episode of Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast where we look into the world of anime and manga. I'm Kyle, and joining me are my co-hosts Coco and Kenny. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
We're good. We're coasts.
We're coast to coast, host to hosts.
We're hosting the coasts.
It's delicious. But we've been watching a lot of anime the past fortnight.
Well,
We
really?
certainly
Us?
have.
No,
So
you,
who would have thought?
you don't say.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah, but one of the ones that we have kept an eye out on, and this is actually because we've been watching this, and earlier in the week we went and caught Ride Your Wave, which is by Science Saru, the studio, and they currently have a show airing at the moment by the same director, which is Keep Your Hands Off Aizuken.
Oh, I love this show.
This show is a love letter to animation, to the process of creativity and everything. I love this so much.
We kind of knew that this was going to be a gem from the first episode that we saw of it. It's like there's something amazing about watching these people so passionate about what they're doing and showing you practically step by step how they're doing it.
And it's amazing how different the characters are. And they're animated differently. They don't look all like a carbon copy of the same sort of kind of like
each
template.
of them has almost like a different design language to them, and that goes for almost all the characters in the show, which is fantastic to see.
It's great. I love it.
They move differently as well.
They in a recent episode we watched, they get in contact with the Mecha Club at their school. Theirs is a strange world that they live in. But I can't help but look at each of the members of the Mecha Club and wonder, haven't I seen them before? Not as anime characters, but like directors and stuff. So I think I'm going to need to do some research, especially like if we do a look back on this anime and see if there is sort of like cameos.
Also, can I just say how infuriating was the art club?
Oh yeah,
the director
that was
of the art club. No, this is how I decided to do it.
They were being too polite.
That's
so.
not what we asked you to do.
They were being too polite.
They
If that was
were.
me, I would be like, no, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do this.
But where's the room for
no other way.
the what was it? The
Expression?
Expression.
It's like, no, there's no room for
but
expression.
You
This is-
asked to be on board. You should do what you're told.
This is a commission. This is a commission. I'm paying you to do something. There's no room for anything you want to do. It's what I want you to do. They needed to be heavy-handed, lay down the law.
On the note of laws,
the
science fell in love.
So I tried to prove it.
Yes, you did.
Well, I didn't, but they are trying to prove
They
it.
are trying to prove
It's
it.
about
Two rogue
science
scientists.
types. They're science types. Like this is
But
this is a lab, and obviously they're
I'm gonna be
university
honest.
age.
I know science types. I'm almost a science type. I did physics. They're not science types. They're just socially awkward.
You studied physics?
I did it for like a year.
Oh.
And
I'm not sure if that makes
I-
you qualified to decide.
What a coincidence. I
on
studied film.
Oh, how dare you!
Well,
Right,
I
both
studied
of those are
many
making the
things,
list.
so I'm all a science. We're
Yeah,
all
I've
science.
done a lot of things.
And yeah, this show is it's hilarious. It's kind of
It
like
is.
it's a single note joke, but it's a great joke that they sort of
Yeah.
carry out over and over again.
There's
It's
a lot of
smart people
material.
are terrifically dumb.
Yes,
When
and
it
they
comes to certain things.
love to.
Yeah.
You think that the joke can't get any better, and then they add another element through a character or a location or an experiment, and it just takes it to another level.
I can't
again.
help but compare it to Kaguya-sama, Love is War, because you have these two like very
Escalates, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. It's like you've got these two very, very intelligent people trying to escalate a conflict between each other. And then you sort of have the rogue element, the chica, the pink-haired,
Yes,
normal,
yes.
clever girl who just sort of
Who cuts
messes up
through
their
all
plans.
of their sort of silliness and goes,
Well,
this. What about that?
She
you know?
tries, and then
Yeah,
they
they-
completely confound her by how stupidly they respond to
And
things.
they ignore her. But we
Yeah.
don't.
It's
We pay
hilarious. It's
attention.
wonderful.
I also love the fact that she kind of serves as like the inner voice for the viewer as well in some scenes where she's like, that's very clearly this. That's very clearly that. How
She-
dare you ignore it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But look, and there's also obviously your two favourite series.
Hey, Camp.
Hey,
Yes.
I don't know if it's my favorite this series, but it is just nice to see these characters again.
I mean, Eurocamp has been just kind of a staple of our love ever since it came out, and the internet's as well.
I'm wondering,
except for people taking pictures of bushfires and going, "What do I try to set up a comfy camp?"
Yes, that's an infamous Reddit post of someone who watched the show and decided it was instructional and they could do it themselves. Bits of it are instructional, but no.
No, do not try this at home.
Yes.
Unless you have, I don't know, got experience.
Practice,
Did I tell you guys that I bought a $10 tent recently?
How did that go?
Yeah, how'd that go?
I bought a $10 tent and I'm really, really excited because it was like... two of the poles were kind of splintering a little bit, like on two different sets, but I taped them.
Oh, the forever useful gaffer tape.
So actually this was duct tape. I do need gaffer tape. But yeah, and I feel like if Eurocamp wasn't in this world, I don't know if I would be quite as excited over my $10 tent. And it's not worth $10. I got it up at the markets for $10. It's worth like maybe $4.50 something in the shops. But I'm so excited about it, and I'm just like, you know what, Comfy Camp is getting there for me.
I'm going to get the Comfy Camp.
Eurocamp. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the three of us did go camping over the Christmas break, didn't we?
Yeah,
for a couple of nights.
Yeah,
but
nice
that
little caravan
tent
park.
wasn't mine.
That wasn't
That was
yours.
my brother's.
Yes.
This tent,
This
my
is
$10
mine.
tent, is mine.
Well, if you don't know what Eurocamp or Heya-Camp are, Heya-Camp is the new short-form episode series for the Eurocamp franchise, which is called Laid Back Camp in English.
In this new series, they're not exactly going camping. They're just sort of wandering around the town and looking at its real-world equivalent sort of features and sort of touristy bits.
Yeah, basically they walk around and have a look at the different areas in the general vicinity.
And they have like a stamp catalogue which they collect from going to each location.
Lovely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's
Well,
lovely.
look, let's get on to what we're doing this episode. So ahead this episode, we're taking a look at one of Japan's many well-known studios, and this house of ideas is responsible for many of the past decade's most popular shows. From Sword Art Online and Darling in the Franxx to Blue Exorcist and Fairy Tale, A1 Pictures has built a diverse and extensive back catalogue over its 15-year existence. So where did the story begin? We'll be diving into that and a few of its lesser-known gems this episode. It's a studio in focus for A1 Pictures this time. And hey, if you're liking what you're hearing so far, hit that subscribe button and join us. We'd love to have you on board for our future episodes.
Yes, we would.
Absolutely.
But before we get stuck into A1 Pictures, it's time for the all-new anime news.
Making headlines.
Really?
Sort of.
Anime news.
Sounds kind of familiar.
Yes, it sounds very familiar. It's the same sting, but it's shorter.
Yeah, I thought there wasn't too much of a change, but I like it.
Oh look,
Sorry.
and there it goes. That's it. That's the new. It's
Shall we let you? Shall we let you read?
No, wait.
No.
I kind of want to savor this moment. I'm talking during this,
Yes, I
musical
have
bit.
muted your mics this time, so you make me
I know,
laugh.
Can I
right?
start?
Well, look, let's get stuck in because we have changed the format of anime news after a bit of feedback. We're now actually going to be chatting about stuff, and we'll do the headlines at the end instead. And it's time to have a look at what's been going on in the world of anime and manga the past fortnight. And let's start with everyone's favourite topic in the news.
Coronavirus. Yeah, that is a bit of a big deal
It is.
over here. I think obviously throughout the world it's a big deal.
Australia,
Here it
Southeast
is, like,
Asia,
we're
Japan.
You've probably, if you're not in Australia and you haven't noticed people going batty over loo roll,
Well, I
please
was going to
look it
say,
up.
in between stockpiling toilet rolls here in Australia, there has been a lot of
Yes.
event cancellations, anime delays, and programming changes in Japan because of the virus.
Yeah, that checks out.
Here's a quick summary of all the cancelled events just from the past 2 weeks. The 14th annual Seiya Awards ceremony and audition event for new voice actors was cancelled. That was planned for March 7. Bandai Namco have canned almost all their events up until March 15.
boy.
That includes an Idol Masters event, Sword Art Online, Tekken 7, several Gundam events. Love Live franchise just canned everything they're doing, and they'll re-release everything once it's done. I believe, rock band Wanima, they did the OP for the recent One Piece Stampede film.
Okay.
They cancelled several of their concerts because someone who showed up to one of their concerts had the virus.
Oh,
So they're just like, we can't risk people coming out to
I
that.
saw a meme not long ago which was like people with the flu, they're all wrapped up and in bed and sort of like laying down. People with coronavirus, I will travel across the land.
On that note, all Pokemon centers in Japan have cancelled all their events, with Pokemon Center Mega Tokyo Shop delaying its grand opening.
So even if you get the coronavirus, you can't go to a Pokemon Center to get healing.
No, you cannot.
Ouch.
Do you guys know how many people now have coronavirus in Japan?
Well, I'm assuming by the time this goes live, it'll be out of date.
Yeah, it will be out of date, but 706 are confirmed from the Diamond Princess cruise ship. The total at the moment was 1,023.
Oh dear. Studio Ghibli Museums closed its doors. It's refunding visitor tickets as well due to the virus, and it's closed till at least March 17th. It might extend further as well.
Makes sense.
Square Enix cancelled all its Japanese staff visits to the PAX East conference and cancelled it or scaled back several Final Fantasy fan gatherings. They also have a Skytree in Midgar Final Fantasy VII Remake event. That's been closed. And Osaka's Nippon Bashi Street Festa cosplay event was also cancelled, which I think we mentioned last show. Here's the two big ones, though. The two very big ones. The Anime Japan 2020 Expo has been cancelled. That's one of the biggest anime expos in Japan for the public and businesses. This is for especially Western reproducers like, Sentai Filmworks' branch over in America, Crunchyroll, Funimation. They head there to look at upcoming shows and things to purchase for the next season or for home video releases and so on.
That's heavy.
Back.
That wasn't looking good. And the Tokyo Anime Award Festival has been cancelled, along with all its connected events. Organisers are considering how to alter the judging of the works at the event. They do still plan to announce the winners, but we don't know how or when at this stage. Anime production-wise, things seem to have gone back to normal. Infinite Dendrogram has resumed production, as has certain Scientific Railgun T. But then Railgun has since changed their planned airing of the show. The next 2 episode slots running special programs instead.
Yikes.
So they haven't said why, but possibly still to do with production issues. Oddly, though, some good news has come out of this.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Japan's Kids Station and Animax, these are premium satellite channels. So you know how here, if you had Foxtel, you'd require a box. In Japan,
Yeah.
you've got satellite TV, but you don't have to pay a subscription. You just have to pay to unlock the channels sort of things.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty easy to get it. They've actually made their channels free from March 4th to 27th between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Well, yeah, if people
and they're
are...
going to be playing non-stop anime to raise children's spirits and ease anxiety with the school closures in place.
I'm getting goosebumps. That's
They're showing
so lovely.
Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Reincarnated as Slime,
Awesome.
the digitally remastered Lupin the Third Part 2 from the 80s, a host of others. Manga providers are doing the same. So
That's so
Shokakukan's Sunday Webry Manga, this is a website where you go on, you buy the manga and can read it digitally. It's making a load of its manga series free to read, including Ranma Half and a bucket load of others as well. Weekly Shonen Jump are making all of their first 13 issues of this year free to read digitally as well through their app. The list goes on. So many people are, actually making a difference and trying to from the anime and manga community.
That's the wonderful side of these sorts of disasters, how the community can come together and
or rather not come together, because otherwise that's a risk.
No. Yeah.
Digitally
figuratively,
together.
coming together, trying to lift spirits and get through it as a collective. And this goes out to all those people who are taking all the toilet roll.
Yeah.
This is not you. So what you need to do is think
Leave
about
some
yourself.
toilet roll for us.
But also think about other people.
I just want a box of tissues.
Just one.
But you know what? Maybe bidet sales will go up. So maybe that can be, honestly, so Toto toilets.
Yeah, I know, but not
Japan.
for my nose, not very good.
True. Handkerchiefs
Not
may
unless you're
come back,
terribly adventurous.
But that is
Terribly
also a bad idea.
adventurous.
Moving right along to some other good news. Kaguya-sama Love is War Season 2 announced.
And I am looking so forward to this. They've got a couple of new characters being introduced as well.
Yes, that is Miko and Osaragi. I think I've said that right. They'll be joining the return of the main characters. on April 11.
Yeah, so
That's the
spring
premiere.
season. I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of good stuff coming up in the spring season this year.
Oh, yeah?
so-
Anything else that looks promising?
Oh, well, I'll mention 4 of them in the news.
yes.
Well,
Yes,
the headlines,
this
I
isn't the
should
news
say.
yet.
No, this is the news. It's
Oh.
the new news. The news of the new news. Yes.
Yes.
It's also going to have the same studio behind it, including A1 Pictures.
Yay.
Go figure. So
Awesome.
makes it easy. And of course, we do have to talk about.
Yes, the My Hero film 2 is flying up the US anime box office currently. That is My Hero Academia Heroes Rising.
It's earned $10 million in the US in its opening weekend.
Small thing.
None.
I mean, for one thing, it arrived during sort of like the height of superhero, like comic book movie fandom. So, its timing was perfect.
See,
But for
it's-
another thing, it is because like it's a superhero genre anime and people like got on board for that. They saw like what just an awesome anime it is. All these
It
like
is.
amazing characters.
there's there's
So
such,
yeah, its rise is no surprise at all.
there is such difference to it from Marvel.
Yeah,
for
now the
example.
film is actually ranked number 1 in the US box office on its
Whoa.
day of opening, which is
Whoa.
huge. I
That's
don't know what that
amazing.
says about the other films out at the moment, however.
What is out?
Sonic. And Sonic has done really
Sonic
well.
is actually out now.
I've heard only good
It's
things
been
about
out
it.
for
Actually,
about 2 or 3 weeks now, and it's done
been under a
really well.
I've heard that the Sonic movie doesn't just give nods to like the original games in the fandom; that it just headbangs to them.
You know what is pretty cool? It actually has eventually earned $5,888,330 to rank number 4 in its opening weekend. Box Office Mojo thought it would take 5.1 million.
I'm surprised they thought it would take that much. Normally, when it's an anime film, they kind of say maybe not too much. They
Yeah.
kind of go around the 1 to 2 million. But the fact that they thought it would take 5 suggests that this clearly has staying power and
Yeah.
attention. throughout the
International
US.
acclaim,
Yeah.
not to mention.
Well, Funimation did organise the screening for that film in the US and Canada. It's been like 1,000 cinemas, I think.
Whoa.
I love
which
the
is
fact
huge.
that this is the rise of anime films, and I mean
We've got
the
one
dub
almost
is
every 2
It's going
weeks.
to be great, but yeah, but like hopefully this will also mean more people are introduced to subtitles and won't be so put
Yeah.
off by films who have just subtitles.
It's kind of funny now because I watch even English shows with subtitles on just in case I miss
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
I'm
just
the
it's
same.
just habit now.
Like
yeah.
when I
Or maybe you're just too used to anime.
well,
That or I need to get my ears checked.
no, like when I watched True Detective the first time, like it's a great series.
But Matthew
Season 1,
McConaughey's mumble.
he mumbles a bit, so watching it with subtitles really enriched the experience the second time round.
Well, look, here's the other headlines from the past 2 weeks. Crunchyroll has announced its first batch of Crunchyroll originals with 3 of the 7 new projects being produced by Japanese studios. I muted myself there because I have the mad skills today. Several Korean manhwa are being adapted, including The Tower of God, The God of High School and Noblesse, with Telecom Animation Film, MAPPA and Production IG handling each of these projects respectively. The new Crunchyroll Originals line include this season's Inspector and follows the Tasty Streaming Services co-production of over 60 anime titles since 2015. Staying with the streaming services, Funimation have announced several additions to its catalogue from Aniplex, and this is for the US, Canada, UK and Ireland. The robot epic Gurren Lagann, human bio anime Cells at Work, Special Ability School Charlotte and Shoji series March Comes In Like a Lion are now streaming in the US and Canada. Yaoi series Dakaichi I'm Being Harassed by the Sexiest Man of the Year also landed across all regions as well. Also joining the ranks is the entire Monogatari series, which is now available to stream on the services in the US and Canada, but only Bakemonogatari is available in the UK and Ireland at this stage. The new OVA for ACCA 13 Territory Inspection Department has begun streaming on Crunchyroll this week, with the special providing an epilogue to the political intrigue series. The OVA was shown in Japanese cinemas for a limited 1-week screening in February and runs for 45 minutes. The special's story is set in the capital of Badon, 1 year after the events of the TV anime ended. Several animes have had their new series announced the past fortnight as well. Sword Art Online's Alicization arc will have its 4th part return to the screens this April, with a special on April 11 and a recap episode airing on April 18th. Food Wars' 5th season has been announced for the spring season as well, with its first episode landing on April 10, and season 2 of the new Fruits Basket will also arrive in April, with manga creator Takaya Natsuki saying she was looking forward to watching it as a viewer. Heading into the bookshelves, the Pokemon Adventures Black 2 and White 2 manga is coming to an end, with the original story bringing to close the series' 11th part. The Pokemon Adventure series doesn't feature Ash or any of the TV series characters, instead focusing on a world built around the franchise's games. The One Piece manga has also taken a 1-week break due to the author, Oda Ichiro's sudden illness. The series' Twitter announced the author is now recovered and will release the next chapter on March 9. And Fantasy Vet manga, How to Treat Magical Beasts, has come to an end, having run since 2016. And in dub news, the English dub of Inspector has begun to air on Crunchyroll this week. New episodes are expected to drop weekly for the next 12 weeks. And that's your anime news for the week ending March the 8th, 2020.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I didn't know they did that.
I love their art style.
Oh my god, they made that. Studio in focus.
Yes, Studio in Focus.
I
It's
love-
A1 Pictures time.
I love the way that you cut that, and it sounded like they were echoing each other.
They are echoing each other. They are in focus.
Yes,
so-
we're going to jump right into A1 Pictures, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And let's talk about the veritable A1 Pictures studio. It was founded on the 9th of May 2005. So
15 years
obviously
ago.
we think, coming up to its 15-year anniversary this year.
Oh.
So it was founded by ex-Sunrise producer Iwata Mikihiro under Aniplex, so Sony Music Entertainment Japan. And this was so Sony could produce its own animations for projects. It wasn't initially meant to be a full-fledged studio. It was meant to just do like kid shows
'cause
and stuff like that.
I think I remember reading the first production by them was an original, wasn't it?
We'll get to that in a second because I have a lot of info on that.
Okay, I will let you talk.
I'm a talk. When the studio launched, A1's president at the time, Katsumata Hiro, said the studio's aim was to become a highly original and distinctive animation production outfit that thinks outside the box.
I'd say they kind of succeeded.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll show you why in a
Whoa,
moment.
okay.
Allegedly,
Dun, dun,
its
dun.
original role was to oversee only a few of Aniplex's family-orientated series, but it grew into a much larger studio as it covered more and more projects each year. Now, A1 expanded its operations quite a bit in the early 2010s and eventually rebranded one of their studios, previously known as the Koenji Studio, as Cloverworks, which we have seen do a couple of anime in association with A1. The idea was to give this particular studio a unique identity separate from A1 due to the style and focus of the work, and in 2018, Cloverworks then became separate completely from A1, but was still underneath Aniplex itself, so still essentially part of Sony. Now, A1's first animation project, it was Zenmai Samurai. In its original short-form children's animation they created with Studio No Side for NHK Educational TV, and that was back in 2006. So that's like I wouldn't really call it like a Japan doing us an educate channel.
Japan doing their children and educate.
Something like that, yeah. It's basically was kids programming essentially, so that if kids were off school or whatever, they'd have something to watch, which was good and so forth.
Sort of like a Japanese anime version of Sesame Street or something?
Yeah, essentially. The show had an overarching theme based on a short Japanese proverb, ichi nichi ichizen, which means do a good deed daily. Essentially, the show was all about a samurai who, from memory, he dies and then comes. His spirit is still floating around in the modern era.
Because he didn't do good things
He
when he was
didn't.
alive, so he's
Exactly.
doing good things
Doing
now.
good things now.
Good.
So
Death
it
is
ran.
a pretty heavy concept to give to a kid like that early.
He's not that dead. He's a ghost. It's fine.
He's only mostly dead.
So it ran daily in the morning and nights, with 175 episodes being made. But it was so popular, it ran from 2006 until 2010. Now, if that's two
Wow.
episodes a day, that's been repeated 5 times a year
quite a
for
lot.
4 years there. It
Crikey.
then moved to NHK's premium satellite channel, which we mentioned how they work a little earlier. 2006 also marked the opening of the second studio for A1 Pictures as well, which was in Asagaya. But while A1 has produced some great content, it's not been without the occasional controversies.
Ooh.
So, in the studio's early days, and apparently still today, it seems overworking is a common practice to make the studio's
That is
deadlines.
very naughty.
We've seen stuff like that.
Very naughty.
Yeah,
over.
in a 2014 lawsuit, a staff member's suicide was attributed to depression due to overworking at the studios.
Oh.
The 28-year-old's medical records stated he'd worked around 600 hours in a month. That equates to 20 hours a day for 30 days. So I'm not sure how
That's-
this was possible.
That
But
shouldn't be
not.
physically
It
possible.
shouldn't be physically possible.
He was probably sleeping under his desk, wasn't he?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Oh.
While this might seem unlikely, it's well known the treatment of employees in the animation industry is pretty bad. Animators and directors in the industry avoided attacking A1 after the verdict, however. Many saying the system itself was at fault, and they're not wrong. Like, this is a big issue. A1's also been in trouble for another staff member dying due to potential overwork as well.
You know, I remember, just to quickly interrupt, one of the main reasons why everyone was so upset about what happened to KyoAni was because they're actually setting a new standard for work.
KyoAni is one of the few studios where they don't pay by the cell, and they have proper programs for their staff so they don't overwork them.
Oh, that's
Wow.
fantastic.
They've got the equivalent of proper labour laws essentially there, which is amazing when you consider. But on Twitter, anime director Nishimura Taika, who doesn't work for A1 at the time of this ruling, posted several posts about it, saying to denounce A1 Pictures alone is a mistake, further expanding on the poor working conditions in the industry and confessing to also having a period of depression due to overwork. Now, he actually recently had an interview about 3 years ago where he revealed how much he earned a month, and it was only about 100,000 yen. That's about 1,000 Australian dollars or $800 a month, which is not much.
That's
That's
not
not-
enough to live on.
That's
And he's a director.
What? Ah.
Yeah. So it does make you worry about it.
I understand why people open up their own studios.
Exactly, yeah.
May as
There's-
well make your own work.
Yeah, there's also some people saying the company was voted the most black company in 2014. Now, I haven't been able to confirm this, but a black company is a Japanese slang term for an exploitive sweatshop-style employment system.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, the studio does tend to release a lot of shows every year, which can result in a drop in the animation quality in some of those story arcs, especially if it's a busy season. And some people point to the thought that the studio has no identity due to its lack of in-house directors and scriptwriters. Typically, they hire people into these roles for the individual projects and then send them on their way.
That's a bit nuts.
So
If you have a look at KyoAni or any of the other big studios, Mappa included, they don't do that. They have in-house teams dedicated to the projects who stay on to then go to the next project.
Yes, generally when we do these studios in focus, we're sort of celebrating a studio that we like that has given us some great stuff. But man, this is some pretty shocking
this is an
information.
expose.
It's
I
an
like
expose.
it.
So look, there's a bit of focus on quantity over quality at A1, and I'm under the impression that has changed a bit in the recent years, but when you compare them to, the shining examples of KyoAni, it's hard to say, you know.
It's hard to consider that all the wonderful anime that they've put out may have been a result of sweatshop sort of standards.
Yeah, and with some of those shows do end up feeling a bit misguided or failing to adapt the original story correctly, resulting in a backlash from fans because they're pushed out so quickly.
Yeah.
But with all this in mind, they have created a lot of what I call shovelware anime, and this is series made for the sake of being made. Whether that's for a tax write-off or just to generate the smallest amount of profit because they know this book's popular with a specific audience.
Any kind of notable examples?
I'm not going to go into them because they will exceed our PG-13 rating guide.
Fair enough.
But A1 has created several memorable series over the past years, including one of the biggest gateways for new anime watchers of the last 10 years. Sword Art Online might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it has served as a conduit for new anime watchers to easily start their journey of discovery.
And you can't deny its sort of like communal effect either.
And while there are several problems with the franchise's attitude towards women, for instance, along with some liberties taken with the script, you can't deny it's got staying power and the impact it's had on the anime landscapes. How many more MMORPG game style series have we seen since?
Yeah.
It's huge.
Nothing with the same reach.
No, nothing with the same reach, but you see a lot of them trying to take that formula with their own twist. And while A1 is not known for a particular style of animation, unlike, say, Kyoto Animation or Mappa, it has become known in the industry for its use of CG, for things like vehicles or dance sequences. The Idolmaster franchise is particularly reliant on CG for a lot of its sequences, but it often enters that realm of the sort of uncanny valley.
Yes, I remember seeing an intro to one. I think it was last year or a year before, and it was just... It went from your standard kind of animation into that weird 3D thing of the creepy-faced 3D dolls smiling at you and staring into your soul.
We've got one of this season, 22/7, which, while the animation for it's beautiful, it's also by A1 Pictures. Later in the series, you do see one of their first live performances, and they use that weird CG, and it's a little
jarring.
Grating, yeah. But look, let's talk about A1's anime projects, because let's look from 2008 to 2019, and there's a lot of good ones here that you can talk about.
What are like your big ones on there?
2008's Black Butler, Kanagi, Crazy Shrine Maidens, and this one I didn't even know about, but now I need to see it. Birdie the Mighty Decode. So
I don't know this one.
Yeah, pursuing an alien fugitive, Birdie Sephon Altera, a Space Federation police officer, finds herself on Earth. Her target, Giga, has disguised himself as a human and assimilated into the fashion industry. So Birdie follows suit and joins a modeling agency, posing for photo shoots by day and chasing intergalactic criminals by night.
Oh, this sounds like fun.
Meanwhile, high school student Tsutomu Senkawa explores an abandoned building with his friend. Birdie has tracked down Giga to the same building, and Senkawa witnesses the battle before being seized as a hostage by the evil Giga.
Oh no.
When Birdie attacks Giga, she accidentally kills Senkawa. Distraught, she decides to save him by integrating his consciousness into her body. Now Birdie and Senkawa must not only cohabit the same body, but also balance his high school life, her modelling career, and the increasingly dangerous job of policing the galaxy.
A comedy of errors.
Yeah.
So on weekdays, he's a high school student.
On weeknights, he fights crime.
No, on weeknights, she fights crime.
She fights crime.
And then on weekends, they do...
Fashion shoots.
Yeah.
Oh my
What the hell?
I don't know, but I want to know.
Yeah, I think we
I
need
saw
to
the trailer
find
for
this
it. It
out.
looks amazing.
Sounds bonkers.
Of course, when you get to 2009, you then get stories like Fairy Tale, Valkyria Chronicles, Working, which landed in 2010 as well. 2011-12... Wow, Blue Exorcist, Anohana the Flower We Saw That Day, Idolmaster, Sword Art Online, Magi the Labyrinth, From the New World, Space Brothers. You think about how many they landed, you can understand how they were overworked. Look at how that. This is just the notable series. Everything on this list has a rater higher than 7.5. On my anime list.
So this doesn't include any stinkers that they might have had.
And there's a lot of stinkers. There is over 250 anime have been released by A1 Studios.
Okay, no, now the overworking is obvious.
Series.
Does one of these stinkers involve a recent...
Yes, it does. A recent scandal to do with an Australian politician. You can have a bit of a Google of that if you want to.
Wait, no.
Yep, that is by A1 Pictures. You see what I mean about not having an identity now? This is a very
That's very broad. Yes.
And like all of these have different styles. I mean, you then go, from Space Brothers to Seven Deadly Sins 2 years later. Your Lie in April in the same season. Gate, thus the JSDF fought there. If you haven't seen Gate, watch it just for the Flight of the Valkyries scene in episode 3. Oh my god.
It is a little bit adult.
It is.
It's
an M15 rating because of the violence.
It's pretty dumb, but it's great. I love that series. It's basically what would happen if the Japanese army went into a fantasy world and fought against their sword, sorcery, and dragon types.
And as you'd expect, the Japanese win.
Short answer, yes. They stomped the dragons.
But then you get, in 2016, Erased.
Yeah, we're going to discuss that
2017,
shortly.
Blend S, which we'll also discuss.
I love that one.
Darling in the Franxx. Now, this was a 3-studio collaboration for 25 episodes.
Wow.
They also had Studio Trigger, who did the recent Promare film, and Kill the Kill, and Cloverworks, which is their spin-off studio as well, also helping out on it.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that they went separate from A1 for a very long time.
What, Cloverworks?
Yes.
No. They were part of it and then spun off from it. But then you're in the same year, Watakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku, which we mentioned last episode. Last year, Promised Netherland and Kaguya-sama, Love is War. So you have a look there. That's still that list
I
there
guess-
is a good chunk of solid anime that's all had an impact in the past decade.
Yeah.
You get to see great examples of the CG you mentioned in Kaguya-sama, especially the Chica
The
dance.
Chica dance, yeah. Because
I know we
that
keep talking
seems
about it,
so
but
beautifully rotoscoped and
Oh yeah, it's just I can't stop. Just the way that her skirt falls and moves. There's weight to it.
yeah, there is.
And I just love the way it's really worth watching just to see how well it's done. So, are we ready to talk about Erased?
I reckon we are.
I think it's about time we jump on over to the next section.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back Catalogue.
And the next section, being Erased.
No, don't erase my notes. I need them. I can't do this without the notes.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Oh,
No.
it's too soon for that sort of
Always too
joke.
soon.
So Erased, as Kyle mentioned, came out 2016. That's correct.
It is.
Yes, and I was very impressed by Erased. The just to give you a background of the story, struggling manga author Satoru Fujinuma.
Why are they always struggling manga authors?
Because
by the
everyone
way?
Because they work for
struggles.
A1.
Ah, touche.
Honestly, it doesn't seem like it's like a non-struggling kind of job.
It isn't.
So Satoru is beset by his fear of expressing himself. So he's kind of a little bit, I mean, like
Self-isolating.
yeah,
quiet.
he works part-time as a pizza delivery guy as well. Interestingly, though, so he's 29 years old at this point. He possesses a supernatural ability that he calls revival. He can't control it, but basically it sends him back in time to just before a life-threatening moment. So say, for example, he's walking down the road, sees someone about to get knocked
Isekai.
down, but truck kun is coming along, but then like suddenly everything stops. And funnily enough, there was a butterfly that appears at this moment. And then he's transported back maybe a few seconds, sometimes a couple minutes.
Beforehand, yeah.
Yeah, just and he's got the memories of what's about to happen, so he can change what's about to happen. He can save that person's life. One day, however, so he lives at home with his mum. It's a single-parent household because his dad decided to leave when he was younger. So he comes back home and he finds that his mother has been murdered. And he is framed for it. So he sort
Utterly
of...
distraught as well.
Yeah, so he runs away. But then revival kicks in
Yeah.
and chucks him not a few minutes or maybe even a few hours, 18 years back into the past so that he can save his mother. But why 18 years?
So something must have happened in the deep past. So basically, he's gone back in
Butterfly
time,
effect.
and he knows like he has all of his present knowledge from the future.
Yes.
Oh, he could cheat so badly.
On
So
those
he
tests.
he's transported back to his year 5 body, grade 5 body with all of his intact memories. And it's interesting how you mentioned butterfly effect because they keep the motif of the butterfly.
That poor guy's got to go through puberty again.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yes, he does, because the thing is it doesn't transport him back.
It also
He goes through the time.
It's quite
Whoa.
interesting as well because when you think about it as well, it's almost like he was stuck in that mental state
He was in a rut, wasn't he?
ever since the events that occur back
Yeah,
there.
he was almost a NEET, or almost a hikikomori.
Almost. If it wasn't for work, he would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, his mum was helpful as well.
Something I found quite interesting, the Japanese name for it is Bokudaki Gai Inai Maichi. Literally translates to the town where only I am missing.
Whoa.
Pretty cool, which, erased.
Yeah.
Definitely the perfect translated title for it, but it's interesting to think of it that way, isn't it, when you look at it?
And
because he's missing emotionally as well.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
He's emotionally disconnected from everything, and so he's just kind of like not even present. I get it.
Yeah.
I
and
like that.
I mean, just giving you guys a bit of an alert. We may have discussed some spoilers.
Well, we'll try and avoid them as much as possible.
But it turns out that around the time when he was in year 5, there were kidnappings of his classmates.
Yeah.
So what does that have to do with his mother's death? That's what we find out
over the course
in
of the
this
series.
anime. It is so good. It is so
and
good.
This isn't Back to the Future where he's stuck in that timeline. There is butterfly effect and explanations. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's shows like this only kind of reinforce my position on time travel, that it must absolutely never be done.
Yes.
Just don't muck with it.
It's a drama. It's a thriller. It's got a little bit of comedy.
And it's got a live-action adaptation.
It has 2 live-action
It's
adaptations.
got the
Oh,
series and
excuse
it's
me.
got the film, doesn't it?
Yeah, so one of those went to Netflix. Now I'm struggling to think of which one.
It's the series which ended up on Netflix.
Aha.
And I believe the main actor from it was the who plays Satoru, played Light from the live action.
Yes, that is
Death
correct.
Note.
Yeah.
So that guy has just like been across a whole lot of different things.
Yeah.
I need to look at his filmography later.
Erased actually started out as a manga series, as many of these do. It was written and illustrated by Sunbei Kei from 2012 to 2016, but it actually has a spin-off manga series, and this followed the lives of Satoru's friends, and that was published over 6 months in 2016 while the anime was airing. So kind of cool. Now, do need to stop for a moment and talk about the music.
Oh my goodness.
Because the opening theme is Ri Ri by Asian Kung Fu Generation, RE common, RE colon, which, repeat. Very fitting idea. Or reply if you're using email terms, I guess. This was originally released in 2004, and it was on the album Sulphur. And this album also featured the song Rewrite, which got very well known because it was used for Full Metal Alchemist's opening,
Yeah.
the original. I love this track so much. And paired with the visuals, the opening, it's just amazing. I'll actually put that on our social media in the next couple of days for you to have a look at. But I went and had a bit of a look around on the internet and found this incredible cover artist called Tsuko G. Now, he plays many instruments. He sings. He dances a bit if you watch any of his kazoo videos, which is right up our alley.
It really is.
But he very thankfully gave us permission to play his cover of Ri Ri, and it's so good, it's probably going to get copyright striked.
Yeah,
I
bye
guess.
guys.
We consider it a badge of honor still.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is Ri Ri, originally by Asian Kung Fu Generation, formed by Tsuko G.
Kimi o natta
such a good cover.
Oh,
That is so good. It is bang on the money.
The comment
it's
section
so
for it is
good.
crazy as well. All the Japanese people going, yes, so on point, so good.
Thank you so much for letting us use this.
Yes,
to play it.
Thank you very much. We'll be putting a link to that in the description of this episode. And if you're on YouTube, you'll have probably seen something pop up telling you where you can go and find his channel. Please
just
go
click
have
that
a look
right now.
because
Squish that link.
Squish that link because he
Yeah,
has some
it's
incredible
excellent.
covers, including rewrites as well, as I mentioned a bit earlier.
And
So
may I also say, very well filmed as well. Very
Yeah.
well lit.
very well filmed, lit, and edited for that matter.
Yes, absolutely.
Guys are pro.
But just to quickly wrap up,
Yeah. So what was the kind of thing that made you say this anime stands out, Coco?
I loved it because it was mature.
Mm.
I loved it. It was, it just seemed to be on a certain maturity level in the way that it communicated the story that I just really loved. It showed a single parent household.
Yeah. And it
Which
showed the
is
struggles
different.
accuracy.
Yeah,
Accurately.
yeah, like it wasn't an easy time for them, and there were other parents around who were disadvantaged as well, and it did do an interesting job of showing up, like, you know, parents being devious, like
Yeah.
the was it Hinazuki Kayo.
One of the babies?
Yeah, I think that was the girl who was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And her mum is a nasty piece of work.
She really was.
And it shows that, which is like...
A lot of people actually online get really frustrated with the ending because their ship didn't set sail, essentially.
But I don't
But
feel like it needed
It wasn't
to.
about... It's not about romance.
No,
Going
it's not.
into
That's
this, it
the
is
thing.
not a romance story,
Yeah,
this.
I love that. There's no shoehorned romance chucked in there. It's the story as it is. It's
and
so
the
good.
ending is beautifully well
Yes.
constructed. Okay, it might feel a little bit rushed in episode 10 and 11, but that's because they had to fit so much information in, and I can understand that.
And you get to basically you get a you get to join Satoru on the ride as well. You get to know what he's thinking, what he's going to do, and his reactions to his ability is really quite mature and like reasonable. I really like it.
Yeah.
So can highly recommend Erased. You'll obviously hear awesome music on it as well. Yes.
Yes,
Give
10,
it a
10
whirl.
out of 10. Erase it.
Absolutely.
I take a star off because time travel. Just stop. Don't.
Well, you see, once the timey-wimey wiggly worm stuff happens, then you'll connect it to the thingamabob and go back in time.
But if it's not
That's actually
something...
kind of accurate.
But he couldn't really help it, could he?
No, he couldn't control
So
it.
maybe you should take off half a point instead. 'Cause
4.5 stars.
His fault.
Well, I actually do wonder about that sort of plot point. What happens if he doesn't try to help someone?
Oh, it just continues as normal.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like it's an opportunity. You know how they were saying, like, in the Avengers film where they were explaining how time travel works, whereas, you know, it might be the past, but it now becomes your future. So you're rearranging a deck of cards in a way. What you've got is, you know, like, say you've got Ace of Hearts through to the King.
No.
and now
You're
in
starting to make
spades.
sense of time travel. Stop that. You'll give it a try, and then
Then you're in spades, and all you do is you just grab that your spades section and put it in front of the hearts and continue on.
Maybe we should move on to our
Yes.
next section.
Well, just one last thing. Erased is currently on an 8.47 on my
Yes.
anime list, which is quite a high rating. So, because, you know, there's always going to be detractors who bring these scores down. There's always going to be people who didn't quite enjoy it.
Yep.
But
yes, the
It's
live action one
subjective.
itself actually got the movie got 73% on Rotten Tomatoes
That's not
audience
bad at
score.
all. Wow.
That's
So yeah, that's
actually
pretty
That's
good.
really good. All right, let's move on to a little cafe in the corner.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
Back
now that-
Catalogue.
Oops.
You just cannot wait to get your memes out.
That's okay.
Well,
What were you
no,
gonna
it's
say?
now that I'm in this cafe in the corner, I shall sip my tea.
That looks like nice tea.
Quite tea.
It was delicious.
When
Tea- was it terrific?
Yes, and it was served to me by a bloody actor. Because that is the subject of Blend S.
Yes.
Probably most well known because it has just been memed into
Yeah,
oblivion.
there's a certain that the opening has been rejigged to
We-
the
we
tune
actually-
of 11 million views.
We actually
on
have
YouTube.
this audio example for you. So there's a gentleman on YouTube whose name is Mountain Dew, all spelt very unusually. And he, on the 20th of April every year, if you can do the maths on what number that makes a rather interesting new video. And his take of Blend S's intro was called Blend W and features Snoop Dogg. Here's a taste.
This guy, his talent is
Incredible.
It's unquestionably great.
So well done, this video.
He took the opening and completely worked it using Snoop Dogg and people he's collaborated with.
And worked them into it in a way that absolutely apes the original anime opening.
Yeah.
The top comment on this is stop talking about the original. This is the original.
And there is a moment like do you even call it spoiler alert if it's for like a meme video?
No, not really.
He puts Snoop Dogg's faces, animates them almost perfectly to look like Snoop Dogg, and attaches them to the characters' faces in the video clip.
And
it's
it is
incredible.
uncannily creepy.
It's nightmare fuel. It's
I
Snoop
love
Dogg,
it.
and he is wearing maid outfits in different colours.
Yep.
dancing.
Yeah.
and doing the little cute
yeah,
heart to
the
you.
hearts.
And
Yes.
So,
Blend S is amazing. It's
It's
let's
got
be
such
honest.
high rewatchability for me.
It's not one of those shows like Erased where you go, oh my god, the story is so good. You are watching this for the slapstick comedy in every episode.
yeah, this is a bit of cabaret you have with your drink before you watch the serious stuff. This is sort
Yeah.
of like... It actually takes me back to an anime, one of my old favorites, Oran High School Host Club. This is just sort of like pretty fascinating and like well-defined kind of characters. Just sort of interacting in silly scenarios and falling over each other.
And as usual with these styles of animes, more characters get introduced over the course of the show to up the ante.
So what is Blend S about?
Story time.
Ooh.
Maika Sakaranamiya is searching high and low for a part-time job. It's that sort of unenviable time of your life where you are just handing out resumes. That's the thing, though. She is punctual. She makes it to the interviews on time. Isn't that novel? And she's professional. She's presentable. She's everything. But whenever she smiles, her face looks terrifyingly sadistic and creeps everyone out. And, you have to smile at your employer.
Hi, things are great.
But it makes it look like I'm going to bury you and nobody will ever find you. She has no control over this.
She doesn't.
And then she meets a man when she's at a cafe, and
An Italian blonde man.
a blonde Italian man, and he gets her a coffee, and so she smiles at him and says thanks, and so she's terrifying. His nose starts bleeding, and he hires her on the spot.
Man has issues.
Yes, man
Man
has.
has so many issues.
I would be a bit bothered if that was how I got my last job.
That's the thing. He runs a cafe called Cafe Style, where all of the waitresses have a character.
It's a maid cafe.
It's a maid cafe. They're dressed as maids. They have basically a Power Ranger ensemble of colors to like denote their character. But basically, she is hired to be the sadistic. She has to be mean
Sweet
to the character.
smile, sister sadistic.
Surprise!
And-
Service! Snoop Dogg!
So I'll let you take a long dangled guess of what surprise
Oh,
means.
you had to put it that
I
way.
did.
It's a trap!
Thank you,
we
Colonel
need
Akbar.
that.
We need
as
that.
we need that as a sting.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll
That
work.
works. That's good.
Yeah, so considering the amount of anime that applies to, oof.
Yeah. As many people in Japan say now that I'm on the roll.
We've got a button for almost every occasion. We just need to get one for every occasion.
Yes.
So, yes, she works alongside various people who put on a character. There is the sweet little sister girl who, like, serves the food with a smile, but she is, like, older than all of them by 3 years.
Yep.
Just very, very short, very, very adorable, and, like, the most mature.
She's also, in real life, the most angry.
Yeah, she's very she's a bit
At odds.
brooding.
They have a tsundere character. It's like, here's this food. It's not like I made it especially for you.
So I guess you can eat it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Except that she's a massive gamer and actually really nice.
And
she's
if
lovely.
anyone is talking about gamer in a maid cafe, which basically caters exclusively to geeks
anime
and nerds and
and
the anime
otaku
kind of crowd,
society.
she struggles because she really wants to talk about games and I know that feeling.
She'll say something really nice and then be like, but it's not like I care.
So what personalities are there? There's a sadistic one. There's a tsundere. There's the
Little sister.
the little sister.
There's
the
the
older
older
sister
sister.
who's like looking after you and really nice. and
She's
there's
kind of the
surprise.
perverse older sister. And the surprise, because she's kind of a little bit...
Yeah.
The surprise one
So-
is that the cross-dressing character is basically idol-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And she has built up actually kind of like a impressive array of fans online.
Yeah.
And is constantly kind of referencing to it.
And then you've got the service, which is also S,
Yes.
which is the guy in the kitchen and the manager.
Yeah.
And the manager should not be running the store.
he has issues.
There's also the issue with the fact that he really likes Micah. And,
Micah is completely oblivious. She
well,
has no
it's not only
idea.
that. He's an adult and she's a junior.
Yeah,
So-
that comes up a bit. That's
Yeah.
This is Japan, though, so this is normal.
it's worrying.
If we went to Japan and we went to a maid cafe, what kind of personality would you like to have serving you coffee or tea or whatever, or a cake? Who would you want?
Man, that's hard.
Sorry, just threw you a curveball.
I can't say Sundia because I don't like that at all, or the masochism, because we don't do the masochism tango.
I'd choose the masochist, the sadistic one, to be honest.
Oh, no.
I would. I just thought, treat me bad.
You know what?
Let's see how
because
bad
I've
this
grown
gets.
up in a household of all boys, I'm going to say one of the sisters.
I grew up in a
that's-
household of all women, so I have to say all-conquering Amazon warrior.
Do we have a death by Snoo Snoo?
We do not.
Thing? If only.
But the closest thing I've got is
Both.
both is good.
that works. You know, there's
Or, of
also...
course.
Yeah.
Nope.
You know what? There are
Creepy.
also, I don't know if this is still around, but the Muscle Cafe.
Yeah.
That is what I
So
would like to go
this
to.
is the other side of the coin. This is a
Yes.
cafe catering exclusively to women, and it is
Well, guys
buff-
can wander
well,
in, but
guys
they
can.
get ignored.
They get ignored.
Yep.
But it's big buff powerlifters dressed up in tiny maid outfits, not as in cross-dressing maid
Usually,
outfit,
like,
but more
they'll-
like butler-esque.
They'll
but
wear like
it's
gym.
yeah,
like
gym
gym
attire
attire.
with like a what's like the fake collar thing where it's just the collar and the tie and no shirt attached.
That's
the
Yeah.
bow
that's
tie.
wonderful.
And you
It's
can.
amazing.
I know that in one of them you could like. So obviously they'll serve you meat, but they'll like bench press it whilst they get. or
Wasn't there
they'll,
one
like,
where they could they'd come and put their arm on the table
Yeah,
and you'd
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
try
yeah,
and
yeah.
pull it over and
Yeah.
Arm wrestle them?
stuff.
See,
Yeah.
that would be a very enjoyable afternoon. You can also buy the wall of muscle or the wall of meat,
Wall
where
of
they
meat.
just surround you and flex for like 2 minutes straight. Can you imagine that?
That's
I,
wonderful.
I can imagine that. It would be quite intense.
It would be
That would
quite
be
lovely.
glorious.
Anyway,
So anyway, back to Blend S. Something
Yes, let's
I
objectify people a bit more.
back on Blend S. It's based on a 4-coma manga, which started in 2013. 4-coma being 4-panel manga stories, and it's ongoing, still going today. Written and illustrated by Nakayama Miyuki, and it was published in Manga Time Kurara Carrot, which is a monthly magazine. Which I didn't realize this. Predominantly focuses on 4-coma. It's an entire magazine based on that.
That's actually pretty
that's
cool.
awesome.
This has actually published a lot of 4-panel mangas which have been adapted to animes, including this season's Koisuri anime, K-On!, the new
Oh.
game, Dojin Work, and of course Blend S.
Now, going back to the author, Miyuki Nakayama, he's known for a few anime and mangas, a very sparse few. The other one he had, which was somewhat well known, is The Order of Rabbit, which is about adorable young women working in a cafe. This man has a type. it's
Well, you know, when you're on to what works for you.
yeah, if you've got a good thing going, why not?
Yeah.
Now, you've just reminded me of something which didn't make the news, but I think you'll enjoy.
Oh?
There is a live-action Isekai Nobu cafe coming.
What?
This is the cafe which straddles the lines
Oh,
between the
this
real
is
world
Kenny's
and the fantasy.
favourite.
This is one of my favorites just because the food in it is so just majestically
During the day,
presented.
it opens into Tokyo. During the night, it opens into the fantasy realm, and they get customers from all form of demigods and demi-human backgrounds. It's wonderful. Well, I say demigods, but they're pseudo demigods.
Oh no, that's a different one to the one I'm thinking of.
Oh.
Then, yeah, no, that's the one which opens into sort of the fantasy realm. The one I know as Isekai Nobu just opens into a Germanic town,
Oh, okay.
Yes, it
into like a
does.
medieval Germanic
Well,
town.
I think it might be a medieval Germanic town in a fantasy setting where there are demi-humans, and because they've got a couple of people on the cast. There are a lot of normal human-looking people on the
Yeah,
cast.
it's there are just. It turns out this is itself a genre. The isekai restaurant genre is a thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them. We might need to cover them all later.
But look,
Potentially.
Blend S might not be on as high a rating because, let's be honest, the story isn't as strong as, say, Erased.
No,
But it's still fun. And its rating from memory was a 7.4 or 7.5 on my anime list. And it's still popular to today.
Its detractors kind of give it a bit of flack for saying that it appeals to the lowest common denominator, but it's kind of not. It's just kind of a bit of fun. It's clowns on a stage.
I mean, you can say that about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And I just feel like you should enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you love slice of life, you'll probably love this and not like Erased. And if you like drama, you mightn't like this and like Erased.
I loved this because it's just full of happy first world problems.
It really is.
It's fluff and it's colourful and the characters are funny and it's over the top and that Snoop Dogg cover just packages it up nicely.
Just don't get me started, because
I was waiting for that to drop.
And yeah, to mention just the sheer amount of memes, it's like smile, sweet, Spanish Inquisition,
Yeah, that was
sister,
one today.
sadistic. No, this is Patrick.
sister sadistic smash mouth.
Yeah, that's the next.
Let's head on out from here.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
And that's where we need to leave things for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us as always. We do have a bit of an announcement to make, because regarding our next few shows, Coco, you're leaving us.
No.
Well, yes, and no. I have to head into state for work for a month. It will be into the Sydney cluster of coronavirus. So that's gonna be interesting.
I'm going to find you like a bath worth of like sanitizers, and you can just bathe in
I'll
them
be
every
like
night.
Jake
some
Gyllenhaal
toilet
from that
paper?
Bubble Boy film. Yeah, honestly, that's probably the best idea. But like, look, we'll see if we can organise maybe a working connection for those coming weeks.
Oh, but to fill in for Coco, does this mean we get to organise a battle royale style fight for the death?
Oh, you have to film that.
Yes.
Well,
to take over her spot?
no.
We need to pick candidates.
Well,
there can be only one.
I'm
Yes.
sure the next few shows will be a little bit different, but hopefully not gory.
But
Yeah.
I've already got the island.
On that note, next episode, it's the end of the season again. And you know what that means.
Yes, we'll be having our usual look over the winter season of anime, but in a new, more chewable and digestible format.
I like chewable.
Yeah.
Digestive is
Digestible
good.
is good.
Smaller
We'll
portions.
also have another Kawaii-Fi Extra on the way. The latest big screen outing from Midoriya and All Might hits Australian cinemas next week. We'll be here to tell you all about My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising.
And if you've enjoyed listening and made it this far at the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube or in your favourite podcasting app. And don't forget, please squish it, and check our Instagram and Facebook pages for anime news and videos. We upload them pretty much almost every day when I remember.
This
I'm
is
pretty
true.
bad at this.
No, we're okay.
I should not be in charge of social
We're
media.
all right.
You've been listening to Kawaii-Fi Radio. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, watch some anime!